Today on With the First Pick, we're talking rookies. Of course, that means the quarterbacks who keep getting better with each start. And there's already a clear-cut early favorite for Rookie of the Year, Rick, and maybe even MVP, question mark? We'll also highlight a couple of non-QB rookie standouts from Week 4, and we'll spotlight a Year 2 player who's picking up right where he left off in 2023. But because it's Tuesday and we're in the thick of the NFL season, got to start things off with everyone's favorite segment, Overreactions. But first, I'm Ryan Wilson. That's Rick Spielman. This is episode 185, 15 to 200, Rick. Before we get going, how many days, Mr. Spielman, until the 2025 NFL Draft?
Wow, it just gets getting smaller every time we come on. It's like, but can you believe, Ryan Wilson, that there are only 205 days left until the 2025 NFL Draft? And we have so much work ahead of us.
And by we, you mean me.
Yeah, so I can correct all your mistakes.
So for Tuesdays when we're taping this, we talk NFL. On Thursdays we talk college during the fall here. But I cannot wait for Thursday's show because there's some exciting college action, and I think our college weekly QB rankings are going to be shook up a little bit. I haven't seen Rick's. Rick hasn't seen mine, but just something to look forward to. In the meantime, as long as you're here staring at us, our faces, or listening to us with your earballs, hit the like button on YouTube, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or both. And if you do that, Rick, along with the name of an FBS or FCS draft eligible player, we'll talk about him on the show. We already got a couple of submissions. We'll try to knock out one or two a week. Maybe we'll get to one Thursday. All right. Now, let's get to the main event. It's time for Overreactions. Premise is pretty simple. We have 5 or so topics from the NFL weekend. Rick doesn't know what's coming. I get his reactions in real time. You ready, Rick?
Let's roll.
All right, let's do it. First up. Terrible development for the Kansas City Chiefs with Rashee Rice. I don't know if we still have confirmation yet on how serious the knee injury is, but Andy Reid said at halftime and later that it's going to be pretty serious. So we'll see what happens, whether it's an ACL tear or something else, but Rashee Rice is going to be out for a while. They're already down Hollywood Brown for the year. He's out. They signed Juju Smith-Schuster, who is more of a possession receiver at this point. Typically, Travis Kelce, you leave the bubble wrap on until December, and then he goes crazy. Maybe you have to hasten that process. But if you're Rick Spielman, Chiefs GM, and this offense hasn't looked great yet, are you picking up the phone to call? And some names that ESPN's Adam Schefter threw around was Amari Cooper. He's with the Browns. Deontay Johnson. He's with the Panthers. Some other names that are not wide receiver one types, Robert Woods, Kendrick Bourne. How are you solving this problem? Because I don't know if you can go through the season without someone to replace Rashee, who was so incredibly important for the last 10 months, it feels like.
No, and you saw last week that they did take the bubble wrap off Kelce because Mahomes, once that Rashee went down, and it was on friendly fire when Mahomes, came in and hit him in the knee. But once he went down, then Kelce, as you said, took the bubble wrap off, and all of a sudden he had his most productive game. But, they still got Pacheco that has to come back off IR. They have running back issues. I think that I would start exploring, definitely, because in Kansas City's situation, they're trying to do something that no one has ever done in history, and that's three-peat as a Super Bowl champ. So I would be as aggressive as I could. And you're communicating with the coaches. I would have my pro department start calling all these teams right now. We got a long way to go until.
Hey, let me ask you something, Rick. How does that work? Just the logistics of the pro. What do you say to the pro department? What do they do to call people?
Yeah, well, and the way we used to run it is that I'd have George Payton get our group together. Everybody was assigned teams, so everybody had 4 or 5 pro teams. They usually know the counterparts, partners that they work with, because that happens during the 53-man cutdown. So Pro Scout A, call these 5 teams. These are your buddies that you've been communicating over the year with. Call and see if they're interested in potentially moving a receiver. But first of all, you got to find out who has extra receivers. So it's not like you're calling 32 teams.
Right.
You narrow it down to teams that do have maybe an excess of receivers that may be willing to move. What type of receiver is going to fit in the offense? You should know that by now because of how you've drafted. So, but you have 2 of your prime targets. One we didn't even see in Hollywood Brown, and now Rashee Rice, who was having a breakout at the end of last year, and it was just continued into his second year as Patrick Mahomes' #1 target. So I would start making calls now. And if I was in a different situation with a different team, that we were in a rebuilding mode or that we were young, maybe not try to continue, maybe try to steal a guy off a practice squad, and Kansas City may try to do that as well. So there's a lot of different avenues. But if there is a specific guy that you hear maybe on the market, and I'm trying to do something in NFL history I've never done before, then maybe you get aggressive to go do that.
So let's say Andrew Berry, the GM of the Browns, says, Mr. Spielman, Chiefs GM, I'll give you Amari for a second-round pick.
I don't know, because Mark Cooper hasn't done much, and he had a couple of drops. Now, he had a big game, but he also had a couple of drops, critical drops. Over
one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen. He volleyballed the football into the air, wide open. Yeah. Okay. I mean, but, we talk about it frequently. You didn't have a choice when, Teddy went down, unfortunately. And you have more of a choice now, but there's not a lot of wiggle room.
The problem is there are more options at receiver than are going to be at quarterback.
Right.
There's two different positions, and there's a lot more receivers to potentially look at than there are at quarterback.
And I should note that Xavier Worthy stood up too when his number was called, but I don't know how sustainable that is, because he's probably more one-trick pony now than he is whole route tree guy, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll see what happens. If list the names here, just give me one that interests you the most. Amari, Deontay Johnson, or tier 2, tier 3 guys, Robert Woods, Kendrick Bourne, any of those names?
You got to go back and look at the tape, and you got to see what fits the system that they're running. So you don't want to do something.
That's a GM at the podium answer.
Yeah, desperately. Well, I haven't watched the tape on him. If you would have told me and wrote me, Debo would have gave me a heads up. Hey, watch these 6 other guys and top the 22 that you sent me already. Maybe I could said, yeah, this would be a good fit or not. And there may be some coaches on that staff that have a relationship or familiarity with one of these receivers as well, that coach may come in and say, hey, I know player X, I know he'd be a great fit in this scheme, and it'd be worth going to pursue him.
Okay. It's a good problem to have when you're 4-0. A team that's not 4-0, they're 1-3, and just got the break speed off of them out west, New England Patriots. Their left tackle situation, in a word, can be described as dire. The left tackles keep getting hurt. They signed Chuck Okorafor from the Steelers in the offseason. He walked away from the team early on in a weird situation. Caden Wallace, they drafted the right tackle out of Penn State, who we talked about. They tried to make him a left tackle. He's got an ankle injury. Verdarian Lowe, who was the backup before he arrived in New England, has injury issues. And they tried it out to Montre Jacobs. And no disrespect to Montre Jacobs, but you can't say go block Nick Bosa. Good luck to you, sir. He gave up 7 pressures, led the week 4, all offensive linemen. And in fact, when you look at those pressures, Rick, I'm not laughing. I'm laughing to keep from crying. The top 3 offensive linemen that gave it the most pressures in week 4 were all New England Patriots. Jacobs, the tackle, and then City So, the guard, the second-year guard, and then Layden Robinson, the guard, who's a rookie as well. Combined, they gave up 18 pressures. You're not going to win like that. So I think wisely, and we've talked about this, they're not going to trot Drake Maye out there to get slaughtered. That's Jacoby Brissett's job, unfortunately for him. But like the Chiefs situation, left tackles don't grow on trees. So some available options of guys that are potentially over the hill coming off injury: Donovan Smith, DJ Humphries, David Bakhtiari, and Charles Leno Jr., and Jason Peters is out there. How are you solving this problem right away?
Yeah, you're bringing in those guys to work out and see if they'll play for a minimum. But you're not investing in any kind of trade. You're not investing any kind of draft capital, because you're still trying to build this roster, and where they keep spiraling down. I mean, they didn't
have far to go.
No. Well, the Cincinnati game in week 1, they beat Cincinnati in Cincinnati. It's like, oh. And then it's like it's slowly going down the drain.
And they did take the Seahawks overtime. I'll give them that. Yes. You're right.
Yeah. So, but it's going the opposite direction on the way you want to head. So maybe try to steal a guy off a practice squad, or bring in those guys to work out and sign one to a minimum deal. But by no way, shape, or form would I ever give up any type of draft capital, knowing what I have to do in the next year's draft to continue to build this roster and build around our future and Drake Maye. Give up anything to go get a left tackle.
So it sounds like you're saying, without saying, that this season it's a lost cause.
Did you watch the game?
But as the GM, are you saying that with the words?
I'm saying I'll do everything I can within reason to help improve this roster.
Yeah.
But not do something that I would regret down the road.
Yeah. Which includes putting Drake Maye out there and putting him in harm's way.
Yes. But they may do that. I don't know.
Yeah. Man.
But you assigned Jacoby to take a beating, and
he's doing that great. He's a tough hombre, as you like to say. The other thing is, and we talked about this last year during the draft, if they hadn't drafted so many freaking guards 2 drafts ago,
I didn't understand. Yeah, it's all guards. No one, and they had offensive tackle issues before.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, with Coach Belichick, they, we were looking at it, and they were drafting guards, and they had Riley Reef, and I can't remember who the left tackle was, but they didn't have left tackles. They had issues with left tackle and right tackles, and they didn't draft tackles. They drafted guards. And
I think Windu had to play some tackle last weekend. He prefers to play guard, from what I understand. He's their best guard probably. So they're moving the deck chairs around on the Titanic, it feels like. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back and get to a couple more overreactions, excuse me, right after this. All right, this is a question from the Peanut Gallery, also known as Debo, who's producing again today. He must have really upset the higher-ups and gets stuck with us.
Yeah, he doesn't mind coming down and slithering down that ivy tower, getting his hands dirty, even though he has the softest hands I've ever felt.
Slumming it. He's told you he has calluses from playing golf, so he's got that. Not even pickleball calluses.
No, not even manual labor calluses.
Oh, no. Come on now. Debo, did you even cut the grass when you were growing up? Did you do that?
Oh, yeah. Put on a nice podcast before this one existed. Cut the grass. It was great.
All right. There you go. My 7-year-old cuts the grass. He takes his shirt off because he thinks he's a tough guy. I ordered him to put his shirt back on. All right. Here we go. Next up.
My wife did the same thing to me. I shouldn't be out there, a 60-year-old man running around with my shirt off.
I told you, you're the youngest person on that island. You're eye candy for all the old ladies walking to the I don't know where the old ladies walk to go play, to go to the knitting club. All right. Debo wants to know, why would you play? I'll give you 2 names. You explain to me why one played and why one didn't. Why would you play Justin Herbert after he got hurt in the Steelers game against the Chiefs? I know it's a division game, but you have your bye week coming up. Maybe that's why, but you also have an opportunity to rest him. And why would you sit Lane Johnson if you're the Eagles? They also have their bye week coming up and a tough matchup against a Tampa Bay team that beat the brakes off of Debo's team.
Well, it was the Kansas City LA Chargers game, and it was a division game. And you have a chance to, and I don't know the severity, what it was, degree number 1 or high ankle sprain 2nd degree or high ankle sprain 3rd degree. The higher up the number, the worse it is. And maybe it's just a degree 1. So play him, and then that gives you the best chance to win that game. You're trying to get out of the skid that you're in right now because you started out pretty strong, but that offense didn't play very well at all. They were missing both offensive tackles.
Yep.
Slater and Alt, so they weren't able to run the ball effectively. But the only chance to have a chance is for Herbert to play, because Heineke or Stick is not the answer to give you.
Yeah, but if you get a long-term injury there, then you lose him for a month. You're
way worse. You're not listening. And Debo, you're not listening. That they're sure that they wouldn't put him out to potentially lose him for the season. He's playing through a high ankle sprain. We saw Trevor Lawrence, who still looks like he's injured off of, even though he was injured last year, he's healthy, but still looks like he's playing injured.
Yeah.
But at least it gave you a best chance to win. And you're coming into the bye week, and he didn't re-injure it. I know he tweaked it and come hobbling off, I think, after the touchdown pass, if I recall. But he came hobbling off. But it must be an injury where they didn't feel it was significant enough to sit him. So, and plus, like I said, a division game.
Well, let me ask you about the Eagles. They can't. Baker Mayfield is their kryptonite. They lost 33-16. Would that game have been different had Lane Johnson played? It sounds like it was probably their best interest.
Absolutely not. Yeah. No, it would have made no difference because they have 2 receivers out. Barkley's their only offensive weapon. Their defense is still trying to adjust to Vic Fangio. I mean, Lane Johnson isn't out there covering Evans and covering Givens, and it wouldn't have made a difference. And To be honest with it, Jalen Hurts has not looked the same since the Super Bowl, if you're going to be honest with it. And, in that situation, you're hopefully relying on Barkley to carry the offense, but your defense has to play a lot better than it's been playing. And Baker Mayfield looked like a future Hall of Famer every time he plays against the Philadelphia Eagles. Sorry about that, Debo, but I would try to keep Tampa off your schedule if at all possible.
So both teams have buys. Off the bye, the Chargers will go to Denver, red hot Denver Broncos, and off the bye, Debo's Eagles will will host the Cleveland Browns. Debo, what's the alarm level for the Eagles for you right now?
4
out of 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they lose to the Browns, will it go up?
It'd be a 10.
It would certainly go up to a 6.5 range. This is not the most daunting schedule, but a Browns loss would be tough. I think it would push Mr. Sirianni closer to the door.
Oh, so we have our producer wanting Sirianni out right now.
I think Debo's he's saying these are the things that have to happen. And that's a great segue because the previous coach of the Philadelphia Eagles has hit a rough patch at his new home in Jacksonville. That's Doug Peterson, of course. And as you read the reports, and Debo, you can confirm the veracity of all these because I wasn't following them as closely as you probably were. Press Taylor was with him in Philly, and one of the reasons Doug may have gotten let go in Philly is because he wouldn't fire Press. Does that sound right, Debo?
That sounds right. I don't think I think the owner and GM in Philadelphia like to have a coach they can control.
Oh.
And I think Doug was starting to push back at the end. I don't know if our actual GM has any insight.
Yeah, you have any thoughts on that, Rick?
I don't know the situation. I always felt that the coach had the right to at least keep the staff, unless it's a major situation where the coach is too, I don't want to say pig-headed. Can you say that on the air?
Yeah, you can say that.
Hard-headed?
A pig-headed person is allowed to say the word pig-headed.
Okay. That's kind of like, Debo trying to make decisions on us two. Well, not you.
Right, exactly. No, us two. I think that's right. Yeah. The blind leading the blind. So here's the thing. So Doug is now in his third season in Jacksonville. He's 18-20.
Does anyone know who's calling the plays? Is Doug calling the plays?
Well, Doug was asked about it after the game. And he was not happy. He wasn't mean, but you could tell he bristled at the question. And he said, I thought Taylor called a great game. In the game, they lost 24-20. As coaches, we can't go out there and make the plays. It's a two-way street. So, you guys can sit here and point the finger all you want. That's fine. Point it right at me. I can take it, okay? I can take it. So whatever you want to ask me, say whatever, right, go ahead. And the implication was maybe the players are partly to blame for not executing the plays as Press and or Doug want them to be executed. But the reality is they're 1-9. They are 0-4 this year. And our Jonathan Jones reported over the weekend that if you fire Doug and or Press, there's no one to put the game plan together. And the real tension is between Doug and Trent Baalke, the GM, who's been there since 2021. So a lot of moving parts, all of them bad. Shad Khan, I would imagine, isn't happy. How are you fixing this mess?
I don't know if something's got to happen. You may have to have one of those adult conversations with everybody in the room.
Who's leading that conversation and who's in the room?
Owner has to step in on this situation because he's paid all these bills. And if you have a head coach and a general manager that are at odds, that is not a good thing because once that starts to fracture, it falls apart. And I've been in those situations, so I know.
Did the owner have a sit down?
No, a lot of times that'll come after the season. But if it's in a dire situation, and I think Jacksonville is in a dire situation because the owner just spent a ton of money on a lot of players.
And he said this is the best team ever assembled in Jacksonville, I believe.
Yes. So whose fault is it? Is he overreacting, or are the players performing? Like I think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be a breakout star in this league because I think he's their offensive weapons. They have ETN. Maybe they have offensive line issues. They're struggling. Quarterback issues, and I just paid him $55 million a year. That's concerning. So I'm an owner. I'm going right. You told me because technically the GM's responsible for these contracts and signing these players. You told me Trevor Lawrence is the next coming and a savior of our franchise. And right now, I don't know if he's playing any better than a backup quarterback in this league. So
Not helping.
And I don't know, has there been situations that happened in those meetings where maybe the coaches didn't want to sign Trevor Lawrence to a long-term extension, wanted to wait one more year because of how he played at the end of last year? Or they seen all these contracts coming in and the GM wanted to get in front of it, because if he did have a breakout year, then instead of 55, it's going to be 60 plus, like we saw Dak. So those are tough decisions. But you have a quarterback that didn't play well at the end of last year, and it looks like he's playing even worse so far, at least in these first 4 games. And the defense isn't helping either. And if you can, we'll talk about some of these rookie quarterbacks coming out, but if you could run the ball and play good defense, it would definitely help a quarterback.
I would argue that if the owner is having a sit-down meeting like it's a preschool, the season's already lost and probably there's no rebuilding that relationship. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, there'll be I think the stuff is going to hit the fan or hit the wall here if they don't get this turned around.
They're 1-9 and 0-4. There's no turning it around. I mean, they got to.
We're week 4 into the season. Okay, what if they go on a miracle run? Okay,
What if Debo grows 3 feet and plays in the NBA? I mean, that's as likely.
That athletic.
Also not helping Trubisky's case, Aiden Hutchinson.
Yes.
Took Trevon Walker over that. Sort of, in retrospect, seemed to have gotten cute. I get the athleticism with Trevon, but Aiden Hutchinson was good then. He's better now. All right, one last one here. Anthony, I don't know what Anthony Richardson's long-term plan is, but the short-term plan is to take as many hits as possible and get hurt. Hurt his hip early in that game, came back and played later, and they ran the ball. I don't know if he called it, checked into it, or what, but got hit in the head, so he came out for good. They brought in Joe Flacco. Once that happened, I knew the game was over because Joe Flacco's going to play within the offense. We saw it happen in Carolina with Andy Dalton. We also saw it on Monday night. Levis acting like a gorilla out there, jumping around, getting hurt after throwing an interception, another terrible interception from Will Levis. So he only had 4 attempts.
He didn't see the guy. He said he didn't see the guy. It's not his fault.
Okay. We'll blame Pete Prisco for that. But Mason Rudolph came in, and Mason Rudolph didn't set the world on fire, but he did make mistakes, and he threw to open guys. Is there any rush to start either Anthony Richardson or Will Levis?
Yeah, you can't. When Anthony Richardson's healthy, you have to come back and start playing him again.
Even if Joe Flacco gives you a better chance to win. I
think, yeah, I would still, because that's your future. And Joe Flacco is Joe Flacco now. I don't, if Anthony Richardson, they drafted him high in the first round, and he's got all the potential in the world. And it's not so much, it's his play because he has the inaccuracies are showing up in the NFL, just like they did in college. But the only way you're going to know if he's your franchise going forward or not is to play him. And Flacco came in, did a phenomenal job. Now talking, and I know you're a little bitter, you sound a little bitter about this.
I am.
Is that Mike Tomlin said after the game that you prepare one way for one quarterback, and I don't think it's an excuse. But then all of a sudden, Joe Flacco gives you a whole different dynamic that you're not used to, like a quarterback that actually gets the ball out on time, that's accurate, that has played a lot in this league.
Yeah.
So but you have to start Anthony Richardson once he's healthy, because you invested that pick in him. Now,
here, before you get to Will Levis, let me throw a couple things at you. Our Aditi Kinkawala talked to Flacco after the game. Did you hear what he said to her about Anthony Richardson? Anthony told Joe Flacco that Anthony's mom is 8 days older than Flacco. So that's pretty crazy. Number 2, this is a bold take. Well, you tell me how bold it is, and we'll circle back to this on Thursday, but a little preview and a bold prediction potentially. Right now, at their same exact points in college, assuming this young man comes out as well, Jalen Milroe is substantially better than Anthony Richardson.
Ooh, I wouldn't say that yet.
Oh, okay. We'll talk more about that Thursday, but I don't want to be on record with that. All right, go ahead to Will Levis.
Will Levis is he plays knucklehead ball for a quarterback.
But you got to find out the same thing with him, though, right? Don't you need to know, or do you stick with Mason Rudolph?
No, you go back to the Will Levis one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think both of those guys, Joe Flacco is a great number 2 quarterback and come in and win games for you. I don't know if he can sustain the magic he had in Cleveland last year or not. And the same thing with Mason Rudolph. I mean, he's just a backup, and he came in and it functioned in the offense, but they were playing against a very bad Miami team. It was hard to watch that offense last night. So let's kind of, I know we're supposed to overreact, and if you want me to overreact and say, yeah, you got to go with Flacco all for the rest of the year to give you the best chance to win, and Mason Rudolph gives you the best chance to win, I can overreact and say that, but it's not true. I think you got to keep going with the young guys and let them grow and learn. Now, if Will Levis keeps costing you games because he keeps turning the damn ball over, I think he has 9 turnovers, leads
9 turnovers in 11 games.
Yeah, and how many of those turnovers cost them games? So
At
either
least 2.
he's going to be a student and learn that you don't do that, or you're going to be a knucklehead. And the other thing that helped Mason Rudolph was that they ran the ball, and it took pressure off Mason Rudolph throwing the ball 40, 50 times a game. And all of a sudden they got their Spears and they got Pollard going and the run game. I'm sure that Callahan's dad, Bill Callahan, was excited that he actually got to get his horses up front to run block, because that's where they thrive, and it paid off with a victory.
All right. So no real overreaction with those 2 quarterback conversations.
Well, you want me to, yeah, I could say something stupid and overreact and say, yeah, I would do that, but my common sense says, no, I wouldn't do that.
Well, I overreacted with my Jalen Milroe take.
Yeah, well, you're maybe over Ryan Act, which would be a horrible segment on this show.
Would it take a break, or would we get right into these rookie quarterbacks?
Let's break.
All right, take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk about the rookie QBs right after this.
It's a team almost too good to be true.
You guys ain't ready for us.
Kick your game day off right as the Tops team tackles all the biggest headlines around the league.
Who's got 2 thumbs and loves this next segment?
Sunday mornings on CBS Sports Network.
All right, Rick, rookie QB times. 3 quarterbacks started. Still no Drake Maye, and that's good for Drake. Let's start with Caleb Williams. Played the Rams. Weeks 1 and 2, Caleb completed 56% of his throws. The last 2 weeks, he's completing 2/3 of his throws. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in that time. The previous 2 weeks, no touchdowns, 2 picks. Each week he seems to get better. I think the ball comes in on time more consistently each and every week. They're able to move the ball a little bit better running it than they were previously. I guess DeAndre Swift got a talking to, and he took it to heart. The longest pass play of the game for Caleb was the screen pass to DeAndre Swift for 27 yards. And my point is that sometimes you don't have to throw down the field all the time. There were some plays that he missed. The touchdown opportunity to Roman Dunze in the back of the end zone was a little flat. I don't know why he didn't throw more air under it. He missed DJ Moore several times in the end zone on one play through a corner route. I don't know why he didn't throw it in the middle of the end zone. But he came back through a great touchdown pass. Linebacker had his head turned. So progress. I feel good about it, and this team gets better. So I like the way he's the needle is moving on him, and we'll pop or drop it up in a second. But what do you think about Caleb?
Yeah, he's getting better every week. And the reason he's getting better, too, is because all of a sudden there was a DeAndre Swift sighting. And, they were able to run the ball. They were able to run some screens. I think a stat I read is that Caleb Williams was 15 of 15 on 15 yards or less throws. Now, they did a lot of quick hitting throws and got the ball out of his hands, and he looked more comfortable in the offense. Still had one scramble that drives me crazy where he ran backwards, and you don't run backwards. You go forwards or step up in the pocket. I do agree with some of the shots down the field. It looked like he was almost guiding the ball, or there's no air under it. But I also understand he's probably trying to figure out how much time do I have to get the ball in before the safety over the top closes to it. But they ran the ball better. They controlled the time of possession, which are 2 critical things. They didn't put the game, and he threw the ball less than 30 times, which is great for a rookie quarterback. So the issue is they have offensive line issues. And if I had a vote, which I don't have a vote, this Jared Verse, and I don't know if you watched him, he just took Braxton Jones to the woodshed. I mean, I counted, I don't know what his stats were, but I thought I had 2 sacks, a quarterback hit, 3 quarterback hurries. It was an arse whooping
That was you watching out of the corner of your eye. You're watching Caleb, and he kept flashing in front of your eyes.
I couldn't. I like, who the heck is number 8 coming off the edge? Oh yeah, that's Jared Verse.
And our buddy 55 had a strip sack, Braden Fisk. And that play, I think the left guard got beat on that play, number 79. And Caleb was trying to throw the ball on time on that play. That wasn't Caleb's fault. It was just to your point, the left guard took an L and Braden won. So again, another great draft by Les Snead and company along the defensive line there. I see you didn't mention Kobe Turner, but that's okay.
That's fine.
Pop or drop for Caleb?
Drop or pop.
Oh,
I'm popping.
Yeah, pop. He finished 17 and 23 for 157. No interceptions. Did have that touchdown pass. Nice throw to DJ in the back of the end zone there. All right, next up, Bo Nix. Here's what terrible weather, and Aaron Rodgers had a terrible afternoon as well. Here's what I wrote about Bo. Hard to judge on the downfield throws, but he was clinical on throws at or near the line of scrimmage. So even with the weather being bad, you could short hop screen passes in quick game. He didn't. He hit the guy in the hand, generally that he was trying to hit in the hand. One not so fun fact if you're a Broncos fan, even though they got the win, Bo Nix was 7 of 15 for -7 yards in the first half. Do you know how hard that is to do that? But he came back, made some good throws in the second half, mostly to Cortland Sutton on a couple deep ends, had the touchdown pass to him as well. Bo's getting better, and you can laugh at the stats all you want to. He finished 12 of 25 for 60 yards. Didn't have the turnover, threw his first touchdown pass, and he didn't make mistakes. And he beat Aaron Rodgers. So those are all pluses for me. He's won 2 games in a row.
Yeah, I didn't know Aaron Rodgers was covering. So I don't understand how he beat Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers plays for the Jets, and the Jets lost.
Okay, so it's both their faults, not the defense or anything else.
Not the defense. It was all Aaron Rodgers' fault.
So I gave him a drop.
What? Wait a sec. Are you kidding me?
The first half, I've never seen a guy have to shot put it to try to get it out of his hands. And I understand it was a torrential down.
It was hard to watch.
And then in the second half, when it seemed like the rain lightened up, he was better. He led that critical 73-yard touchdown drive, got his first touchdown pass.
Are you mad at George? Is that what this is about? What's going on?
No. I'm just telling you. If you compared, and I take the weather out of it, because these guys get paid to play in weather too. And you think in Oregon, there was a few raindrops that fell on a couple of days. But and I don't know. I just looked on the tape that it was coming down pretty hard. I wasn't sitting there. I don't know how bad it was, but that first half was hard to watch. It looked like week one.
It was terrible.
Yeah. So, but if you're telling me to pop him off of what I seen last week in Tampa, you're saying this was just as good a performance?
No.
That I have some land that I'll sell you down here on the island. It's underwater again from Hurricane Helene, but if it's you get a good price on it if you want it.
Well, we talked about last week, and they were playing that Buccaneers defense was banged up, and they were playing off coverage for much of that game. This defense is a little better. The weather was
it doesn't matter. He was better down the field. He made the throws. I mean, you're making excuses, and I am
making excuses.
Yeah.
Here's another not so fun fact to bolster your point. Bo is the first player since at least 1991 with 5 straight completions not gaining positive yardage. Those are so fun. I gave him a pop. I'm proud of you, Bo.
Drop.
All right. It's first split decision in 2024 with the First Pick podcast history. All right, next up. You probably gave this guy a drop too. Jayden Daniels.
Yeah. He only completed 88% instead of 90%.
Can you believe what is going on? We thought CJ Stroud was good. Jayden Daniels said, hold on. I got
to tell you this right now.
Yeah.
That Jayden Daniels is way ahead of CJ Stroud after the first 4 games.
I would agree with that. And again, I say it every week, and Jayden deserves a ton of credit. 26 of 30, 233, 1 touchdown. Did have an interception, so he is human. Threw a little late to McLaurin in the middle of the field. Whatever, mistakes happen. Ran 8 times for 47 yards, including a touchdown to the right side there and a little around the edge. But it feels like Cliff Kingsbury is dialing up the right play consistently. And they're doing a lot more than they did in week 1, where everything was at or near the line of scrimmage, a lot of RPO stuff. Now they're pushing the ball down the field. McLaurin's getting involved. Noah Brown got involved. Zach Ertz had a good game last week. So they're mixing things up. And to your point, where's this going to go?
Well, it's got him, 3-1 right now?
Yeah.
That's crazy. And if you were at the beginning of the year, and kudos to Adam Peters and Dan Quinn for what they're doing. And
who hired Adam Peters?
The owner did. Josh Harris did.
Oh, you're so modest.
But the way Dan Quinn's defense played much better against, I thought was going to be a shootout. And so they're starting to get, they don't have all the horses on defense they need yet, but they played more sound than they did in the first 3 weeks. But what Cliff Kingsbury is doing in this offense and the way Jayden Daniels, it's funny, in week 1, he was either looking to throw, and if it wasn't there, then he was using his legs. Now he's way more comfortable in the pocket. He's going through his progressions. He made a couple of off-schedule throws, and it's a couple of times where he didn't set his feet, but the ball just comes out of his hands. And
laser
that I saw live down when I saw the Commanders and Dolphins work together and saw the ball come out of his hands, it's even more impressive than what I saw during training camp. So hands down, and I know neighbors may push him, but they never give it to a receiver because Justin Jefferson got gypped when they gave it to Justin Herbert. So neighbors could push him, but if he continues at this pace, not only is he going to win Offensive Rookie Year, and we were talking about C.J. Stroud is potential MVP. If Jayden Daniels, how could you not put him in the conversation after the first 4 weeks was his
completed 88% of his passes. I mean,
It's
what are we
crazy.
doing?
You're right. And they actually had the punt for the first time since week 1. I didn't even know they had a punter on the roster.
They should play that. They pay the punter per punt, save some money on that. You talk about the progress he's made. I tweeted this out on Monday as I was going through watching Jayden again. In the second half, he was going. First read was a flat, turned it down. Then it was a hitch, turned it down. Then came back to his right and threw didn't set his feet and threw a laser in the middle of the field for 17 yards, I think, to Luke McCaffrey. He was also starting to get a little more run as well. And it was a beautiful throw, especially when you looked at it from the end zone angle, and just things that make you have to be really excited if you're a Commanders fan, because it's been a long dry spell with the quarterback situation. And to your point, it is wild to think that he's further along than CJ was 12 months ago, but that's where we are.
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. And the boss's boss, EK, is probably very excited in the office wearing his Commander's gear with true pride that he hasn't been able to in the last couple of years.
I'm going to text thread with some buddies from college, and they live in the Northern Virginia area, and one's a Commanders fan, a beleaguered Commanders fan. He said, man, that Jacobs guy, that Peters guy is doing a great job. I said, oh, yeah, funny story. Debo, I need you to rank the NFC East quarterbacks from best to worst.
Did he quit?
Debo quit. Or he doesn't want to talk about it.
Why? How hard is it?
All right, you rank them, Rick, while Debo scurries back to his workstation.
To look up the names?
So we have Dak, Daniel Jones, Jalen, and Jayden Daniels. So who's 4? Start at 4, work your way up.
Daniel Jones.
That's an easy one. Now things get interesting.
It don't get interesting, not at all. This is like as no-brainer of a question as you've asked on this podcast.
Okay. So you're going to go Jalen Hurts here at 3.
Yep. Dak Prescott at 2, Jayden Daniels at 1.
All right. When Debo returns, he can say whether he agrees or not with that.
Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. This has been the most under-reactions of the over-reactions we've done so far this season. A couple other fun facts about Jayden. Only player since 1970 with 80% completion and 200 rush yards in a 4-game span. Second rookie quarterback in the last 35 seasons to lead the team to 38-plus points in back-to-back games. Russ Wilson did it 3 times in 2012, which is funny. Man. All right. Is he going to hit a rough patch at any point, or is it just going to be C.J. Stroud-like?
No. They've got some teams coming up on their schedule that they're going to play against some pretty good defenses. But, Arizona's down on the defensive side of the ball. They still don't have their horses, and they got a lot of injuries. But, no, I think there'll be a few rough patches. He's not going to be able to keep this pace. But as long as he doesn't turn the ball over,
right.
That offensive line is performing a lot better.
A lot better. I made a note of that.
Than they were predicted to perform, and they have 2 pretty good running backs that keep the chains moving as well.
I didn't love the Brian Robinson pick at the time. I think it was a 3rd-round pick, but he's the right fit for what they're trying to do.
Yes, he is.
All right, pop. I don't even have to ask you for that one. All right, let's look at a couple of non-quarterback rookies and how they did. I was excited to look at Xavier Legette. We talked about him a lot last fall because he was the only show in town for my guy Spencer Rattler at South Carolina. The issue we had, I think, I'll speak for you, you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, is that he wasn't a polished route runner coming out of college.
Yes.
It felt like Andy Dalton trusted him on several of those throws that we watched. Carolina Panthers lost to the Bengals on Sunday. He had 10 targets for 66 yards, 6 catches, and a touchdown. But he threw a lot of throws where he had to anticipate Xavier coming out of the break. Xavier was where he was supposed to be. And I think that's a good omen for trying to find somebody to catch passes on an offense that at least last year struggled to have anyone get open down the field.
It's progress, but he's not there yet. So
Okay.
I'm going to say that he is a little tight. Couple of the out routes, he was there. Ball was on time, but he still looks a little tight in his lower getting out of the out cuts.
Okay.
But he does catches the ball away from his body. Boy, can he accelerate after the catch. Where his drops came, I charted 2 drops. As long as the ball is above his waist, that he is a very good hands catcher. When he has to adjust below his waist, there was a hitch, and there was a little option spacing route where they were low throws because Dalton was trying to keep the ball away from the defender. He goes like this, and the ball goes through his arms, and there were 2 drops that I thought were catchable balls. So I still think he's learning. There is signs that this guy is going to be a really good receiver. And I think that he'll continue to get more targets as him and Andy Dalton's chemistry come together. But he does have to clean up the route running, and he does have to clean up the drops, especially when he's adjusting to throws that are below his waist.
I should have brought this up in Rick Actions, but since we're talking about the Panthers, should the Dolphins think about seriously trading for Bryce Young now?
I would consider that.
Because no offense to Snoop Huntley, he's been there 12 days. But
No.
that offense, unlike – and Mike McDaniel came from the Shanahan tree. It feels like Kyle Shanahan can lose a couple of players in the offense, and the offense can still run. This Dolphins offense feels like if one thing goes wrong, you forget about it.
If Tua goes wrong, you can forget.
That's the one thing, right?
Yeah, that's the one thing. But it's like I'm paying Waddle and Hill almost $25+ million a year for both of those guys, each of those guys, and you got Achane in the backfield. Right, got some action. No, it's not good right now.
3rd round pick for Bryce right now?
I think you get him for a Saturday pick. No, not a Friday pick. The way he's played.
And I'm pulling the trigger from Chris Greer, the Dolphins GM. If it's only a 4th rounder, I'd do that.
Yeah, I would too.
All right, next up, let's go to Philadelphia. Tebow left a note, said he had to go take care of something because he doesn't want to hear about this. But I thought, in addition, even though they lost to the Buccaneers.
Okay. Debo, when you come back and you watch this show,
I'm here.
If you're going to produce the show and come down with
it to my face,
he had to go take care of something work related. So Tebow,
we're going to on the show. What do you want me to just get up and go I got something work related I got to take care of. But no, I'm going to sit here and pound through this show to give the audience what they hopefully want. And I don't have time to go scurry up the ivory tower to take care of some bit. You can.
What would you have done?
Show.
What would you have done, Rick, if it was during a draft meeting in February, let's say, and one of the scouts just got up and walked out while you were talking?
Unless it was a natural disaster or some kind of family emergency, no one's moving.
Maybe Debo had a family emergency. We don't know about that.
No, I'm sorry.
All right, Debo, now that you're back, I need you to rank quickly the NFC East quarterbacks. Rick already did it.
It's not that hard to think about, Debo.
He must have left again.
Can I ask one clarifying question?
Of course.
Through 4 games or for the next 5 years?
You answer that, Rick. How do you want to answer that? How do you want me to answer it?
Well, through the 4 games, maybe that was why it was so easy. Maybe we
through 4 games.
Huh?
Through 4 games, I would say Jayden Daniels, a tie at number 2.
Come on.
And Daniel Jones, number 4.
That's like plus or minus the tie at 2.
Yeah, that's like C- or C+. How can you say Dak Prescott and
Jalen
Hurts are the same to A and B or whatever you want to say? You can't pick one.
You're so mad at you,
Jalen Hurts. Dak loves to pad those stats when he's down 28-3 to the Ravens.
All right, fair enough. Oh, by the way, Rick, pop or drop for Xavier. Leggett.
Give him a pop because
I'm going to pop him too. All
yeah,
right.
because he didn't have any targets in one game.
Yeah.
He was just out there running around getting in shape.
The best part of that, in addition to his first touchdown, he was asked afterwards about his touchdown celebration. I don't know if you saw it. It looked like he was riding a horse.
Yeah.
He's a horse guy. If you ever hear him talk, he's a country. He's really country from South Carolina. And his horse is called Dollar Bill, I believe.
Oh, really?
So he's riding Dollar Bill. Yeah, he was doing that. So if you haven't seen the clip, go check it out. He's always fun to listen to. All right, Defensive Rookie of the Week, as voted on by me. I just sent the name to Rick. He watched this young man. I want to get Rick's thoughts on Quinyon Mitchell.
I was like, why am I watching this guy as Defensive Rookie of the Week?
I just wanted the defensive players. Last week, Debo got extremely angry that we didn't do Jalen Carter, who had a great week last week. Didn't carry that over to Tampa. So I thought I'd throw a bone and watch another rookie. And it wasn't going to be Cooper DeJean, who had issues in special teams because one of his teammates pushed a Buccaneer into him. But Quinyon Mitchell, I thought he held his own against Mike Evans. He was not afraid of Mike Evans running by him because Mike Evans was not going to run by him. Had a nice, I think the first target was in the corner of the end zone. Nice play there, getting through the ball. Got beat in front of him a few times, but he's playing off coverage. I didn't hate that, but I thought it was a fun game. And there wasn't a lot to choose from. I could have done Jared Verse, of course, but we talked about the Rams and the Bears earlier. But I wanted to throw Debo a bone, watch a little Quinyon Mitchell. I believe he was the first cornerback off the board, if I recall correctly. And he did not look overwhelmed. And I think he is the arrow's pointing up in terms of his season. Thoughts?
Yeah, I saw the PBU and a great play where he did. And most of the rookies are going to grab, like Terrion Arnold.
My goodness.
He has a tendency to be a grabber.
I think he had 3 DPI calls on Monday night.
And the problem is, I don't want to go down a different rabbit hole, is when you watch SEC games, and I don't know if you watch the Georgia, those guys, all they do is grab the hell out of people, and they get away with it at the college, especially in the SEC. It's the most. If that was an NFL game, there would have been 250.
The game still be going on.
Yeah, we'd still be wondering who won the game.
Well, you told me last year, Rick, that's an easy fix. You just put boxing gloves on the kid.
I didn't say. I said that's how that gets resolved.
Oh,
but he has to learn how to keep his hands off of somebody. And then Carlton Davis, that kid
got screwed on some of those calls.
Is the most competitive. That him against DK Metcalf last night was fun to watch. And they're going to win some and lose some. But he didn't back down. And he put on a performance of grit like the Detroit Lions are. Now you're going to win some and lose some, but you're not going to go down without a fight.
And unlike Jamar Chase, his teammates, Kirby Joseph in particular, came to Carlton Davis's defense to make sure he didn't get another flag when he got in the. I thought that was a suspect call. There's another call later, might have been on the 2-point conversion for DPI. But I love the physicality and
just competes. I love watching guys compete, and that
I would imagine Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, is quite happy to have that sort of physicality on the back end. But back to Quinyon.
Rick, since we're judging players' entire careers based on 4 games, it seems like. I'd like you to tell me the order of these young corners. Quinyon, Terrion, Nate Wiggins, include anybody else who's impressed you the most.
Nate dropped 2 interceptions in that Bills game, by the way.
Yes. Boy, Debo. That's a hard one because I think they're all having their struggles.
Terrion likes to be the best, so I'll go Terrion first. Okay, what's next?
Yeah, that was a given. So then I would go Quinyon, then I would go Wiggins.
I mean, that's the biggest homer rankings ever. I'm going to go the exact opposite.
You're trash.
That was Terrion Arnold at the combine talking to Rick about what Rick said to Terrion when they met last fall.
Yeah, you're trash.
Nate Wiggins is number 1, Quinyon's number 2, and Terrion right now is number 3. I think they're all going to be good players, but if we're being realistic and not voting with our heart, Nate just can't catch. That's the problem.
Yeah, well.
All right, Quinyon against Mike Evans mostly.
Yeah, getting back to Quinn, he gives up too much cushion in off coverage.
Is that a function of Fangio or not?
And I think he was just playing. I mean, you give cushion, but he's almost too much cushion because that showed he doesn't trust, even though he has all the tools, he's not going to get beat over the top. Now, he lost the 50-50 ball on the out and up. He does stay on top of the receiver, like he ran with Evans and did a good job on a goal ball in the end zone in the game. So, and the one thing that impressed me the most was his tackling ability.
Right.
I think he's more physical than people anticipated, and I thought he did a great job coming up on a couple of run support plays to make tackles. So his arrow is going up for me. I just thought that the cushion part, and maybe it's the confidence, the more he keeps playing, he'll understand the cushion that he can give in zone, not give up some of those easy completions. But boy, does he close once he gets out of his transition.
Yeah, I think he was a 4-3 guy, and he's big. And to your point, he was physical and run support. Played only outside in this game. I hadn't watched him previously. I'm guessing he's mostly an outside guy. Although I thought there was some conversation about having him in the slot at some point, but I'll have to go back and check on that. I'm going to give him a pop, even though they lost.
Yeah, I think he held his own, even though he gave up some plays.
All right, let's talk about a year 2 spotlight player before we get out of here. This dude was balling out last year. He finished last season with 64 catches, almost 800 yards, 8 touchdowns. Second-round pick, taken 50th overall. Jayden Reed, wide receiver. And we watched him at the Senior Bowl. We talked about him a ton leading up to last year's draft. Against the Vikings in the game where they were getting the doors blown off before they came back in the second half. Had 8 targets, 7 catches, 139 yards, and a touchdown. Christian Watson went out with a high ankle sprain. He'll be out for some time. But even before that, Jayden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Doubs, they have the tight ends there. Jayden Reed might be is he the best wide receiver of that crew?
Oh, yeah. He's the only one that could stay on the field pretty consistently.
Well, that helps too, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, he's to me, watching him this game, he plays, even though this is only his second year, plays like a 10-year vet with savvy, the smarts on settling between zones, his route running ability to separate man coverage, his hands, his after catch ability with the ball in his hands, like we've seen at Michigan State when he came out. He reminds me a lot of Randall Cobb when Randall Cobb went in state.
Yeah. Was Randall that fast?
I don't know if Randall was that fast, but the type of route running, the savviness. I mean, I saw Randall Cobb play 1,000 times because we were up there twice a year. And when Randall Cobb was in his prime, that's who this Jayden Daniels reminds me of, and maybe going to be better because he's a step faster.
That touchdown catch was a great throw, even better catch. Contested catch right over the shoulder, over the head of Byron Murphy, the cornerback.
How about the ridiculous catch that Justin Jefferson made? That's
he is so good. He said, I'm going to let it hit me in the chest first. I'm going to catch it on the rebound.
Yeah, he didn't even show his hands to the DB. Great throw by Sam Darnold. Give Sam Darnold the credit for the throw. But you talk about a unique talent.
Well, you knew it all along. I can't remember who drafted for in that draft. I don't know, Debo, if you remember who that was. I don't know if that guy's still playing. Speaking of late hands, one of the best plays of the season, Jared Goff, not even showing his hands to the last second, catching the touchdown on a great throw from Amon-Ra St. Brown. Did you talk to your brother about that?
No, I haven't spoken with him yet. I usually wait till he calls this afternoon or tomorrow.
Oh, my gosh. What a great throw and even better catch. Jared sold it. And Jared's a better athlete.
Better athlete than people think. But, yeah, and then he kind of high-stepped it into the end zone.
High-stepped it. Finished 18 of 18.
How about the balance of Kenneth Walker, where it looked like he got tackled twice and never hit the ground? He rolled on the side, then he rolled forward.
He doesn't have knees. I think that helps. He plays like he doesn't have knees. All right, I'm going to give it. I mean, Jayden's a pop. He went for 139.
Oh, God, yeah.
Jayden Reed pop.
He's playing at a Pro Bowl level.
Right. I mean, he's playing like a first-round pick, 50th
Yes.
overall. I don't remember why he fell, whether it was some off-field stuff or maturity or whatever. But
no, he was a great kid coming out.
Okay, good. Perfect. Just, I think I had him as a top 10 pick, if I recall correctly.
Of course you did.
All right. That's it, Rick. Tuesday's in the books. Thursday, we're going to be talking with the first pick, week 5 quarterback rankings. That's going to be fun. Carson Beck ain't going to be number 1.
Yeah, I don't know.
Talk about there.
Maybe.
We'll talk about some other quarterbacks.
How do you know he's not my number 1?
Because I watched that game. That's how I know.
Don't judge a book by its cover off of one game.
Ryan Williams, 17 years old. If he were coming out this year, top 10 pick.
Is that kid special or what?
I've never seen anyone move like that, their body on
Earth. He's ridiculous. And we mentioned him a couple of weeks ago. I mentioned something because I just got through a bunch of Alabama tape.
So the comp for me is Devonta Smith, but I think he's
he's way better than Devonta Smith.
But and he'll gain weight, as I would imagine, as a 17-year-old. So there's time for he can gain 10 or whatever pounds he ends up.
You didn't even shave at 17, did you?
I don't shave now. Just
Yeah.
I shave my head. I have a head full of hair. I just shave
Yeah, you shave. Yeah, you shave the top of your head. That's it.
So So I'll give you a little preview here, Rick. Next week we're going to talk about all these freshmen that are balling out because I know you're looking ahead 3 years.
Yeah, okay, great.
Arch Manning, Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams. Who else we got? Debo.
The Tennessee quarterback,
Nico Maliava. So yeah, we got a ton of guys to get
Nebraska quarterback.
Right, Dylan Raiola. But this Thursday we'll be talking our rookie QB rankings based on draft eligible guys. We'll talk about some other popper drop guys in the college.
Are you going to have some guys moving up and down?
All right, let's do 2 minutes on this. No more than 2 minutes.
No, we got to wait till Thursday.
Yeah, my list is going to change.
Okay.
I have some real, especially after the issues we've had with Bryce Young. Fit matters. So I can't take a guy that I can't trust and put him in a terrible situation.
Oh, I can't wait to hear which that terrible situation is. And
the first overall.
What guy can't you trust? I'm anxious to hear that one too.
All right, you got to tune in Thursday to hear that. All right, that's it. That's a wrap on episode 185. Thanks as always to my guy Rick. Thanks to Debo for producing. Thanks to all you guys who watch and listen. 5-star review us up and leave us some names. We'll talk to you guys Thursday.